Hello, Gentry, and hello, everyone. We are artists in residence in the Everglades. My name is Arsimmer McCoy. I am the residency coordinator here at Artists in Residence in the Everglades. And I am so excited to be sitting here for our monthly AIRIE Asks with our June fellow, George Gentry. So before we get started, who we are, Artists in Residence in the Everglades is a 501c3 not-for-profit operating in Everglades National Park in the greater Miami area. We believe artists are essential problem solvers who can reveal new narratives and solutions for social and environmental change through their artistic storytelling. AIRIE supports a paid month-long immersive residency for artists to explore the park and the intersections of art and the environment. In addition, AIRIE provides its own gallery space, organizes local events, and fosters community with a diverse team engaged in the Miami art scene. So, Gentry! I have to be super formal, because I have to make sure I get all of the particulars out of the way. But if you don't mind, I'd like to just share a little bit about your bio before we jump in. And so here we have artistic director of Zest Collective and a professor at New World School of the Arts. George began dancing at age 8. He's a Young Arts awardee, and his talented self landed him on HBO's Master Class. Notably, Gentry received accolades such as the 2022 Dance Miami Choreographers Grant and the 2023 Miami Individual Artist Award. After graduating from the Juilliard School, Gentry joined AIRIE and earned recognition as one of 3 men to watch in ballet by the NY Post. He also danced with the Dance Theater of Harlem in 2013. And then he founded Zest Collective, which performed at various New York venues, including the United Palace, Harlem Stage, and the Wasiak Project. Am I saying that right? In 2017, he became an artist in residence at Randolph College and later joined the faculty at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. In 2020, Gentry moved to South Florida. He received a commission from the Miami Light Project for Here and Now 2023, which I was also a part of that cohort and was so honored to be. And he also directed Piano Slam 14, presented by Dranoff to Piano and the Adrian Arts Center. He also choreographed the 2023 Juneteenth Experience with Huge Songs at the Miami Beach Bandshell. And recently, yesterday, at the Colony Theater and the Parker Playhouse. So, Gentry, you are out here in this beautiful nature. We're looking right now at Gentry's backyard. And I love that we're actually doing this AIRIE Asks in the space. Because I think that it allows us to really have a deeper conversation about your time here. But before we even get into all of that, tell me a little bit about this masterclass. Who is this artist that you were working with? And how did you get that opportunity with HBO?
Oh, Jacques Dubois, he was one of the principal dancers for the New York City Ballet. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful dancer. And it was through the Young Guards. After being awarded that, they chose a few of us to work with him. And we worked maybe a couple of months at Jacob's Pillow and at different studios in New York City, creating this work, which we performed at Jacob's Pillow, and then later at a venue which I can't remember because it was a few years ago.
Cool.
Yeah, and Jacques Dubois, he had a school as well. He's passed away not so long ago, but he has a wonderful school, and so we got to meet all of his students and got to see him in the process, creating work with them and engaging with the communities. So it was a great start of my career. It was right after high school, right before I went to Juilliard, and he took us to New York City. In fact, we stayed in his barn in the Catskills where we created.
A barn?
Yeah, he has a barn. Well, he had a barn in the Catskills, and we also created the work there. We stayed there a few days. He fed us. He was a true artist. He gave me this book, which I still have. And it was a great introduction, as I said, to the life that I had worked so hard to be a part of.
And so talk about that. The life. Who planted this seed for dance? Who planted the seed
Oh.
for ballet?
Well, I always tell the story that my dad forced me to go to ballet. So,
Your dad forced you. Okay.
And even as punishment, sometimes when I would misbehave, I'd go to ballet, and and eventually it just stuck. But really, I sat next to a girl. Her name was Benika Grant, and we were best friends in elementary school. And during one of the parent open houses, her parents and my parents, they got to talking, and they were just talking about some of the extracurricular activities that she was doing. My parents were like, yeah, we're going to sign him up for that. So her name is Linda Ajapong, and she founded the Community Book and Dance Academy. And while there, we had to read books, we learned how to cook, we took etiquette classes, we learned to model, we did everything. She had this big 2-story building in Miami. There was a park, we'd run around, and so he signed us up there for the summer, and I was like, I don't really read these books. I didn't want to do any of it. And in fact, I'll tell you, Ms. Linda Ajapong, she used to also do some of the community, some of the educational enrichment in our school. And so I'd see her often in the school, and I'd make fun of her. I'd make fun of all the people that were dancing and having to do all the things she had them doing.
Oh my God.
And then when my dad drove me there that summer, and it's like, oh my God, they had signed me up for the woman that I spent all
the
year
time picking on, and now look at you. I'm crying.
There was a lot of resistance.
Wow.
But a lot of persistence on their end.
Yeah.
And eventually, I just, being around it so much, or seeing people dancing, is like, I can't resist this anymore. Let me just go ahead and join the dance.
Into it.
And when I started dancing, they were like, all right.
Wow.
Go ahead, Gentry. And I think I fell in love with the
attention. And I don't think we talk enough about that. I think that artists sometimes are so scared to say, like, I like when people like what I do. I like when people compliment me. And as a person who is, compliments are hard for me, because I'm always like, I could have been better. I could have, but when you get that one person that comes up crying, like, oh my God, what you just said, what you did just moved me, it does something to you spiritually. And so I also love the fact that, like, as amazing as you are, there was resistance before falling into dance. What do you think the resistance was? Like, what was it for you? Why?
Well, one, I just, as a child, you don't want to do any organized activity. You just want to run around, and honestly, my older brother, he was the star, and he's a great player right now. He's written a few books, but he was all into the dance. So because he was the older brother, and I've got 2 brothers, so we all just sort of fell in. Whatever he wanted to do, he's the first, so we're there. And so it was always like, he wants to be here. Here I am, and he was the big name on the block, if you will. And so it was one day I was like, I'll show you. I can do this too.
You got me messed up. I got the same DNA. We got the same parents.
Yeah, so then eventually we were dancing together. We were going across the city, like reciting poetry, doing these all these sort of different things, and then it just became kind of fun. And then my dad had the 3 of us performing. He called us the 3 Gs. And
I'm here for it.
We'd go to like all of these opening events, all these ceremonies, different community things, and he'd have us perform. And we'd perform to Kirk Franklin. We'd have our glasses, GP.
Are you with that?
I've been going through some things. So we were creating dances, in the backyard, and then we got to perform. And at that age, we're so young, and he worked at a high school at the time, and we performed for the high school, and they were just like, yeah, look at those boys go. So we were like the Jackson 5s, if you will,
I was just about
Miami,
to say, like, that's exactly what y'all were. Y'all were like, was it 3LW, Destiny's Child, Cleopatra, I'm showing my age. They don't remember the sisters with the braids coming at you. Listen, I love them girls. I get, like, that culture, like when that child is talented and then the ecosystem and the community, it's almost like the community is ready. They're like, oh, your baby sings, oh, your baby dance. We got the church brunch coming up. We got the social at the park. We got the pop one. Like, they will put you wherever you need to be. And so, as you evolve as this dancer, how do you find yourself navigating the ecosystem? Like, how did we go from, oh, okay, I'm doing this kind of like, this is a cool thing, to like, this is my career? How do we navigate that? How do we get Gentry into career mode when it comes to ballet?
Interesting question. Well, I had done it so long, it just sort of became me, you know. One, it was good for me as discipline, and once the discipline takes over, then the fun begins. So once you're able to dig through that part where you don't want to do it and you can find that consistency, then it kind of becomes a part of your life, and then you look back and it's all you've ever known, and you know, it's the language that I knew the most and which came so easily. But I think even then, as a child, I always knew I wanted to be a choreographer. Like, just, I love being in the audience. I just love productions. I just love seeing things evolve. And so I just worked my way up the ladder, and I just knew my teacher, she told me all the steps, and I just did whatever she told me to do. And you know, one step led somewhere else, and it seemed like, oh, just keep on going, just do your best, and just do your best.
I'm so glad you said that, because that segues into our Juneteenth experience.
Yes.
As I said before, in talking about Gentry's bio, Gentry and I have worked together on the Juneteenth experience, which was presented by Huge Songs, and we were stationed originally at the North Beach Bandshell, and this year we had 3 performances. One of which was to be at the Parker Playhouse, but due to the Miami rains, we unfortunately had to cancel that show. But the 2 others, on the 18th and the 19th on Juneteenth, were at the Colony Theater on Miami Beach. And all of the choreography that you saw in that show was done by George Gentry. And so how do you connect to Huge Songs? How do you become the choreographer? Like, how did all that
Well,
happen?
that's so funny. You know, Cunha was also a resident here.
Also a resident,
you're a resident
yes.
here, and Cunha and I actually went to high school together. So
I did not know
yeah, we went
that.
to New York School of the Arts together. So we've known each other for more than half our lives at this point.
Wow.
And we had creative writing together. He and my brother were in that class with Miss Janice Graham. And she was such a great teacher. She gave us so many creative opportunities to express ourselves, whether through movement or collaborative projects. And Cunha was in the music program, and I was in the dance program. So we've been sharing, you know, ideas and tasks
Wow.
since we were, you know, in our adolescent years. And so we've both gone on and built our careers. I lived in New York for a while, and I came back here during the pandemic, the hiatus of everything that was going on. And also my younger brother, he and his wife, they were to be with child, so I didn't want to miss out on the life of my niece growing up. So all those sort of things just fell into place, and I said, let me move back to Miami. They now have 2 children, so now we have an abundance of life in our family. But back, yeah, so it all just happened. Cunha did it in 2021, and then I couldn't do it in 2022, but then in 2023 he asked me to choreograph, and then we redid the show in 2024. So
Wow.
we've just been involved in each other's lives for some time. You almost like fate sort of opens the door.
Absolutely. And I love that that connection was able to bring you back home, you know, bring you back home safely, you know, because making a transition from one place to another sometimes can be very uncomfortable when you don't know if, like, you'll be able to find work or just have stability, you know. So having a friend, you know, having somebody in the arts, in your arena, be able to kind of just be like, I got you. Like, you can always, you know, you can come home, you good, you know, is a beautiful thing. I want to talk a little bit about your brain, like about what were you thinking with the choreography for Juneteenth? Like, what was your motivation? Of course, it's about the liberation. Of course, it's about, Black souls, and it's about spirituality. But, I just want to hear personally from you, what were some of the themes or conversations that you were trying to have with these bodies, these dancers?
Well, this year's theme was about belonging, so that's always in the back around, and mostly when I am creating work, it's about the music and the dancers and the sensations that I want the audience to feel. So I just listen to the music over and over
Yes.
and over, like I'm driving in my car, like this is all I'm listening to. There's no need for the radio. I'm just always
No.
working on different projects, and so I'm hearing every nuance in the music. I'm hearing every chime, every ting, every subtle thing, so that the music sort of becomes me. And then the dancers, they're just so beautiful and inspiring, and the shapes that they're making, the way in which they're connecting with one another, you know that's what it's about. And usually sometimes you get tasked to create something, and you're just like, what am I going to do? So it's just a bunch of listening and seeing what it is that needs to be said. What does the universe want me to say? What It's really not me. I'm sort of like a vessel, and it's not what I want to do, but what is being called. What's happening here? What can we bring out of this shared experience?
And that's so interesting, listening, because I don't think I've ever equated hearing and listening to dance so much, as because it's a physical, it's movement. So, but yeah, closing your eyes and listening. Even I see these videos sometimes of dancers who I guess do like sports, like cheerleading, the dance, and they do this thing where they do a oh God, somebody will stand in front and somebody will stand behind, right? And that person in the front eyes are closed, and they're doing the dance behind them, and they're listening to the steps, like, right, to figure out what's the word I'm looking for, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like what sequence they're doing. And yeah, exactly. And so you don't think about, it's all of the senses when it comes to dance. They're all playing into each other. I'm sure we could even find in there smell, where smell comes into play, which actually, five senses, we'll talk about that in just a second with Elements of Being for our Venice Biennale performance, yeah? But before we do that, I want to show just a clip of George Gentry in the act with his rehearsals with Juneteenth for Huge Songs.
Can I say?
Yes.
So this song, this is actually the start of my new ballet, which I'm creating here, and which when applying for the residency, the framework Reverie. So this song, Ever New, is the start of the ballet. So the audience has got to treat a snippet, an excerpt from the new ballet,
Of what
which is
we
about
should
20 minutes.
accept.
Yes,
What we should expect.
yeah, and if you hear, like, the song is just so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Even just sitting here, just listening, and I think the movement and the dance sort of complements the music. It doesn't detract from it, but it just sort of brings out more nuances and just makes it a much more of a livelier and enjoyable experience, that it's not contrasting or stark or, disjointed from the movement, but completely a part of the music.
Absolutely. It's really incredible how you kind of move like Beyonce. Yeah. So Beyonce, real people who follow Beyonce know that she finds this amazing way to streamline all of her work, right? And this beautiful, like, she's a storyteller. I even liken her work ethic, because I don't want to, people to start be like, okay, you're doing too much. But August Wilson, the playwright, all of his plays are one long story, right? Chronologically. And, you don't figure that out until you're like, oh, wait, Gem of the Ocean is like, da 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 da, got a little turn, come and gone. Like, and so to me, you're kind of like in that same vein of how like you have streamlined all of your works to be this tapestry and an archive to what you're doing. And Zest Collective is like the holder of those archives. Really,
And
really, really.
I'm so glad you picked up on that. 'Cause, each piece is a
I watch,
conversation.
okay? I pays attention.
Yeah, each piece complements the other. It's like one point of view, one angle. Yeah, and even some of the movement it borrows. It's okay. This token here is in this piece too. So if you watch all of the pieces, some of the movement, it's like some of the movement that we as the performers love doing and how it makes us feel. How can we bring that to this piece?
Yeah. What does it take to be a Zest Collective dancer?
What does it
What
take?
is like
Oh.
who is the Zest Collective dancer?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've never had an audition, and I don't think I'll ever will, but sometimes you just meet someone and you know. One of my favorite dancers, Julia, she now lives in Italy. I met her on an elevator. I'd never seen her move a day in my life, and I just asked her to join the company.
Wow.
And this is when I was living in New York a few years ago, much younger. And she's like, sure. And she showed up the next day, and we worked for years together. She even performed some of my work in Italy. But sometimes it's the energy. You just feel it. You just know it when you see it.
That's
like meeting
incredible.
the love of your life. Love at first
No,
sight.
I don't know. I don't know nothing about that. Nothing
Me
about
either.
that, Gentry.
But I know it when I
say
see
like a good plate of food. Let's say that. When it comes out and it gets to the table, it's something about the way it's plated, the way it smells, that you just know this is going to make me very happy.
Yeah.
So we can liken it to that. Gentry, because the other one I can't help with that.
But I will tell you, it
Yes.
takes a generosity,
Yes.
a generous spirit, and they have to have a zest for life,
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, speaking of Italy, you were asked by our creative director, Cornelius Tulla, to bring to life the work of poetry, music, visual work through dance and the environment. And so from that, we get elements of being, right? So talk a little bit about that experience. And, now I know and get your work being brought back to Italy through this vessel that you would later on be in residence with.
Yeah, maybe we'll tour to Italy soon too. Zest in Italy.
That's the goal.
Recurring theme.
That's the goal.
No, I was so happy to be asked to do it. And in fact, we started creating this work before the residency, so it was a great introduction to the Everglades. In fact, the first time I came here was in viewing the space and before creating the work with Cornelius. So it was a great, like I mentioned, introduction to what I would be experiencing here and the administrative staff here, the artistic staff here, and I loved it. And the elements, we were engaging about the controlled burns, and so in the video you see me in this red, these sort of pink colors, in contrast to the green, and how the burns are great for the ecosystem to prevent more fires, but more, what does it mean to burn, and how does it feel? How does the flame feel, And to see the destruction of that flame, but also once the flame is gone, new life can begin again. And so even going into the environment where everything was charred, underneath you could see these yellow and green leaves, growing once again. So there was this whole sense of life and this cyclical situation.
Absolutely. And it's so remarkable the way that plant grows back.
Remarkable
From
indeed.
being completely burned to the ground. And it's just uprooting. And
Like our resilience of our,
exactly.
ourselves, our humanity.
I feel like if you want to understand humanity, come to the Glades. Because the way in which there are plants here that are non-invasive, invasive plants, the way that there are two different trees that have nothing to do with each other, living side by side, sometimes growing into each other, sometimes growing away from each other, but still maintaining space. You know, it's a physical representation of how we should be to one another. And also a physical representation of what will happen when there is chaos, when there are things that disrupt, you know, the natural organic order of space and things. And I feel like that's also what was happening with some of your movements too. It was a beautiful merging of the organic and the chaos and the grace and all the things like you should have when you're venturing into space and venturing and learning with people. Yeah. I do want to take just a moment to just talk about Venice one more time. So for the 2024 edition of Personal Structures, the historic venue of Palazzo Bimbo showcases elements of being, the airy and woven immersive multisensory experience, among other international galleries, as well as projects from photographers, sculptors, visual artists, institution, and the like. And we went to Italy, Venice, Italy, in April of this year. And so now I would like to show a clip of that performance. Make sure I'm queued up here. Oh, it's also very nice to just like hear the sound of the crickets for a second too. That's also another thing. If being able to like be in the still and being the silence, and what's that like been? What's that been for you?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's what I've needed all my life. It's why I applied. Like, there's no TV here. It's just phenomenal. You know, when you're young, you're always escaping the silence. You're like, I gotta, you know, when I would visit my family in the South, like, oh God. But now I'm like,
Facts.
they are living their best
They're
life.
living their
you
best
know,
life.
like,
You don't
yeah.
appreciate it until you're older. I too have family in Georgia,
Yeah.
and used to be like, "Oh my God,
Just sitting
the
down
internet
there.
sucks."
Yeah.
But then now that I'm older and I have a child, I'm sitting out on the porch with a drink. Best situation ever.
Yeah, and even sitting here, you know, it's just here we are. There's no need to do much. I'll say that when I first came here, just going out at night and seeing the stars has been just phenomenal, because, you know, in the city, you know, we have the light pollution, we have the sound pollution, we have the actual pollution. And in fact, I had to go back into the city after a few days, and I got so sick. Like, I got a terrible cold because I had been so cleansed, if you will, and so refreshed being here, and then just driving back, my throat was like, oh, what is going on?
Wow.
And so just seeing those differences in how my body felt physically, mentally, spiritually, creatively, the things that I was thinking and pursuing, here has just been a clear space for me, and just a clear mind. The food, the fruit is phenomenal at the local markets, the organic, non-GMO. You know, I've just felt physically much more like how I would like to feel every
Yes.
single day, as I should feel.
Yes, how you deserve to feel.
How I deserve to feel, how we were intended
How
to
we
feel. But yeah, just
intended.
seeing the stars at night and the sound of it, and, you know, going by the bodies of water, and how it has been just so soothing, and all of the worries have just sort of not mattered at all.
That's I'm yes. I have
I wish
no
I could
words.
stay here year round. You know,
I wish
honestly.
too.
Yeah, that's what I need.
We'll have to talk to the ups about that. So here is a clip from Elements of Being.
Fires lit and lined the sweet grass. The blood running through the sloughs bubbled up, hissed and sighed. Machineel, rooted in peat and marl, dropped its summer fruits meant for war. The viceroy flew to declare and demand a settling. Exhausted waters beat against the limestone, calling for a settling. Steamy soil singed the feet of the forgetful gatherers, a settling. Charred valleys negotiate with desert talc, a settling. Leveled ground allows for angry glaciers to calm and feed the live oak birthing resurrection ferns. Redemption in the form of high smoke on the desperate beating wings of the bee, looking for just one flower to breed, and it will find it. Oscillating in the new rivers, moving to the rhythm of Zanzibar winds and Somalia snares. The concrete giants collapse. Indigo skyline stretches its legs. Notch-tipped tick seeds lay slender backs on iron gates, pressing them into the dirt. Curious palms lean over highway rubble and begin the requiem. A settling has happened here. A settling has happened here. A settling has happened here. Now she can begin.
And so the poetry here in the piece is myself, and the music, my goodness. Whew. That choir, every time they started up, I could not, if you were not moved by the work, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Diane Weggie is so masterful in the way she explains environmental change, whose work was merged with our work at AIRIE to create Elements of Being. These two conversations where we find the common ground in the burning and the resilience and the rebirth. When I talk about Diane Weggie's work, I say, to me, it's a little apocalyptic. It feels apocalyptic, right? But apocalyptic in a way that's like, be at peace with it, you know? Like, it's inevitable. We're gonna wake up. We need to wake up. But also, like, we've done a lot of damage here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us have had good intentions, but a lot of damage has happened. And so, as an artist, what is your connection to the environment and the climate right now? Like, what are you feeling as an artist? What do you want people to know, or how do you want people to see the landscape? I know that you've said, you know, it's a joy to be here and it's cleansing, but is there any messages that you're receiving or have made yourself about your relationship to environment and landscape?
Well, you know, excuse me. without the environment, there is no us.
Nah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we must
In a
preserve it.
nutshell. Yes. Yes.
You know,
Case point. Right.
and you mentioned about the intention, but I think for so long, many of us have moved without any intention at all, and without any preservation for the natural world, and now we're seeing we're seeing the effects of that, and even driving here and seeing how foreign construction now is taking place and now diminishing what little we have here. And even what we have now, these millions of acres, is like a third of what it was.
Yeah.
And and just thinking, I live in Miami. I was born and raised there, but Miami was created in part by destroying this natural land. So the place that we have, the place that we call home, and that where we are is largely a part, affecting, our environment. And so there's nothing we can do about that. We can't undo that, but we can preserve what we have, and just make better efforts.
To keeping it.
Yeah, and
I wanted to
even
find.
you live in South Florida. You see how the water, when it rains,
It pours.
it pours, and nature has its own way of shaping the earth and creating space, as do we. But we need to work, in collaboration, that we're not just destroying the environment. And what the people who have created the Everglades, as far as restoring this place and making sure all of the water doesn't drain, and we've come a long way and we've done some remarkable things. But I think with more awareness, we could do much better.
Did you have a connection to the Everglades prior to coming out here?
I've always wanted to come to the Everglades. I've been as far north near Okeechobee and the
Okay.
Pahokee area, where they have the muck. So I've been in that area a lot, but not in this southern part. And yeah, I've always seen pictures of the Everglades. In fact, for a whole year, as applying for this residency, I put as a screensaver this image that I
Oh
thought
my.
was so beautiful of the Everglades, and I let that be my tool of manifestation.
I was gonna say, like, that's powerful
It's powerful.
manifestation. That is really powerful. And I guess that answers my question, my curiosity as to why you applied. What was it? What is it about the Everglades that draws you in?
I love nature. I've
Yeah.
always loved nature. When I lived in New York, I'd wake up every morning. I lived in Washington Heights, so it was like a bit up, and I could look over the Hudson River and watch the sunrise, watch the sunset. I had this unique space where you're so high up, you can see the sunrise and the sunset depending on which way you look. On my birthday, I'd wake up and 4:30, I'm there just watching it, and the natural environment has always been so rewarding for me, and has always been just so healing and so positive and so full of energy and rest and reinvigoration. And being in South Florida, what of a better place to be than the Everglades, and to see our natural world, and to just imagine the people who came before us, how they traveled this land, and how we sort of created our own land with this land.
What would you give an artist coming into this residency? What advice would you give?
What advice would I give?
What's something they should know when venturing to the Glades?
Well, one, protect your skin. Just
Protect your
protect your
skin.
skin, because the bugs are there. But just enjoy it and just soak it in. Let just be. Let it all come to you. Just look at the stars, listen to the wind, go to the water. Just breathe.
I love that. I think that's good advice. When I first got here, it was so difficult for me to accept the silence. The silence felt so loud. And it's because of what you said, the noise pollution. And my mom's down south, so I was like, I'm gonna just go home for this a little bit until I feel acclimated, until I can regulate my system to be here. But I'm thankful for community that kind of told me the same thing, like just allow yourself to be. I want to take it back a little bit to Revelries and to Zest Collective. I have pulled up here, some of your rehearsal, but what is the future? What are we looking for Zest Collective to be doing this year?
Well, we're so fortunate to be in the South Florida and be so supported by the Miami-Dade Department of Cultural Affairs and the community here, which is one of the best in the nation. And so the support is just phenomenal. So we've got many, many, many wonderful things set up. In fact, while being here, I'm also in residence at the Moss Center. So starting in June, I also began creating our new work, The Fountain, which will premiere in September. And so this work is music set to African American spirituals sung by famous opera singers including Leontine Price and Inez Matthews and many more. So it's just a treat for the sound, a treat for the eyes and the movement. And actually what's great about the Everglades is that the Moss Center in Cutler Bay is just like 20, 30 minutes away. So I've been able to go there, rehearse, then come back here. And so the environment has inspired me. It has just been, the dancers are like, whoa, you're in such a good mood. What's gone into you?
I got some sleep. I went to bed.
They're like, what's going on? What's going on?
There's no TV.
Yeah.
Fresh fruit.
And so, fresh fruit. And so we've just been creating the piece. And they're like, can you take me too? So we're going to do a whole group outing. And we want to go on one of the airboat tours. And,
Lovely.
it has inspired them to check out the Everglades, and so we're all gonna just. And I hope and I know that even after the end of this residency, I think I'm just gonna come here on the weekend, just wake up and say, hey, let me just ride up over there, clear my mind and just listen. So yeah, back to about our work. So we have the Fountain coming up in September at the Moss Center, and the piece Reveries that I'm creating while I'm here. We're going to try to find a venue to produce this work in February. Okay. And so this work is a piece that's divided in 4 vignettes, and it will be in response about the neglect of the environment, how we have destroyed the environment. It will also be about the different people that lived here in the Everglades, the different village folk. So that's how it sort of begins. Beautiful. And also, it references time and the destruction of land and the movement of people through land. And so I've learned a little bit about the native populations, how they came here and how they built their homes, but then also colonial people came and destroyed those homes and destroyed those people and their habitats and their communities. So the work references, it has a lot of those sentiments.
Gotcha. And so, what are we looking at here? Is
this
for
is a clip
Fountain?
For the Fountain.
Gotcha.
And this is our pre-finale. We have a finale, and then there's another surprise finale. But this is the work in silence that, it takes, sometimes you can't build the work until it's ready to be built.
Absolutely.
You keep digging and it's just not the right. And we finished this selection here in June when I had the quiet space and see, this is what it is. And so this is it without the music, a little treat, but this is when all of the village folk, they come to the fountain and you see them here at the end, they all go to this fountain, which is this luminous idea that we have, a waterfall, but also this idea of this light, this fountain. For many people, we associate this religion as this sort of light. We associate the water as this sort of light. We associate ourselves as this sort of light. So we're all going to this fountain to be reborn, to be renewed, to be cleansed. Yes. And I'm just happy that this time gave me this opportunity to really find what it is that needed to be said.
Wow. Okay, so here is a little bit of Fountain.
Okay, so Sierra is Jerry, Olivia is Eleni. 5, 6, 7, go. Bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba ba dum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hold. You know, and what I'll say about that, you see, you don't even hear the music,
Yeah.
but you hear in the counting, there's music
Yes.
within the movement. And so in the choreography, the movement is a dance in and of itself, the music is a dance in and of itself, and sometimes, you know, well, all the times, they're in conversation with one another. And so that's just come from the fountain, his name so sweet, bum, bum, bum. You know, so they're all championing themselves, marching, if you will, to this new hope.
And so is that the essence of dance, the conversation, the constant conversations with each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's so many essences, but that's definitely one. You know, the conversation the dancers having with one another, historically, with what's going on. You know, what are we trying to say? What has happened before us? And what does this mean to us? You know, what are we trying to get the audience to think about? You know, how are we trying to educate our audiences and our communities? And you know, even choosing the music.
Essentially, though, at its core, what is Zest Collective? At its core, what do you want people, when they leave a Zest Collective performance, to leave saying and leave thinking?
Well, I always want them to leave uplifted. You know, it's so easy. There's so many work that is, you know, we're getting into this era, you know, the demonstrative, sort of nondescript. But I want all of the work, you know, even the work that might be dramatic or might be, you know, touching or pulling on our heartstrings, at the end, that there is a sense of uplift and a sense of reverie, if you will, a sense of life, a sense of zest.
Yes.
Because this life is hard, you know, and we come to the theater. You know, many people come to the theater to, you know, experience, you know, a feeling that they don't feel on a day to day. So we're leaping, we're jumping. The audience is living through us.
Yes.
And so we're reaching new heights and we're inspiring the audience to, you know, jump out of their seat and to move. And one of the great things about being a choreographer and what I love so much is I can always sit in the audience and be nondescript. Most of the times people don't know who I am, and I'm just sitting next to people and I'm just watching them move.
How they move.
Yeah, and how they move and just feeling their response and stuff. But, you know, we're all just moving together and, you know, and I just want everyone to be moved. I want them to feel rejoiced. I want them to be able to go out into life and, you know, just look at it from another point of view and just know that it's going to be okay. Like looking at these trees, 100 years old. They've seen thunderstorms, hurricanes, all sort of things, but they're still resilient. They're strong. They still have this movement. They've got deep roots. They've got great history. They've got each other. You know, there's so much, you know, going on.
Absolutely.
I want the audience to hear great music.
You
know, it's
are a
all about the
poet.
music.
Yes, but you are a poet. You're a poet.
Well, dance is movement literature.
But ooh, I'm snapping. I mean, you guys have to understand, we're literally watching the trees moving in the breeze. They're like, Gentry is the same height as these trees, and as beautifully, and moves as beautiful as these trees.
Don't they move
and
beautifully?
beautifully. And as he's talking, I'm just like, yes, I'm transported. And I think that's a part of your work too. You transport people for sure. And you find dancers that understand the mission. I was saying that earlier, all the dancers that I've come in contact with that are part of, you know, your work or that you have commissioned, all of them have this beautiful light about them. And also in their movement and everything, you can see who they are, what their story is. And they understand the assignment so well.
Yeah, I love that. They're also elegant. You know, when I watch the dancers, I just smile from ear to ear. You know, once the lights come on, even in the rehearsal process, you know, you just can't help but be moved. And those are the type of dancers that I love working with.
So once again, for everybody listening, tell us where we need to be, what we need to do, as far as how we can support you as an artist. What do you need from our audience, from Miami and beyond? What do you need?
Miami, just stay in tune. You know, you can follow us on Instagram. We really update there at Zest Collective, our website, www.zestcollective.org, and just continue to support. You know, come to the theater, come to the shows. Let the dancers know you saw the performances and how you were moved. You know, if you can't support financially, a word will do. you know.
Absolutely. And give us those dates again for your
Yes.
upcoming show.
Well, in September, September 13th through the 14th, we have performances at the Mall Center. Then in October, October 21st through the 26th, we'll be at the Miami Theater Center. Soon to be released. This is in tandem with the Miami Light Project for our program entitled Roots and Rhythms, which celebrates black musical icons of the 20th century, including Josephine Baker, Harry Belafonte, Aretha Franklin. Let's see who else. Mongo Santa Maria,
It's getting out of
Abby
hand. It's
Lincoln,
getting out of
Ella
hand.
Fitzgerald.
Out of
It's
hand.
just a really phenomenal production of black art and dance.
Oh, that's amazing. And I love that you're doing it in October. You know, that we're not holding our black joy for February and now for Juneteenth, that it's like, nah, we black 24/7, 52, 365. Like, let's always show up and show out. I love that about you, and I love that about your work. And I know now where I'll be having my birthday. My birthday is in October, okay? So I'll be
Awesome.
expecting some Compton.
Awesome.
Little
Front row
VIP.
center.
Thank you. I need front row center VIP, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
taking the time to talk with me today. I appreciate you. And I'm so thankful that you chose Artists in Residence in the Everglades to be a part of your journey and a part of your practice. And please follow us on AIRIE Everglades on Instagram. And also you can find out more on our website and learn more about Gentry on our website and our other upcoming fellows that will be following at AIRIEEverglades.com. So thank you so much, everybody that watched and listened. We appreciate y'all.